Father God, we ask that you would be with this city right now, be with the city council, be with our mayor, and be with our citizens, Heavenly Father. As we go into this meeting, let it be pleasing to you. Father God, we just can't thank you enough. Cover us and our families right now. Be with us, Lord, and help us, lead us, and guide us. And whatever we discuss in this meeting, let it be pleasing to you. In Jesus' name we do pray. Amen and thank God.
Amen. Okay, if you all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will you call the roll?
Councilmember Lilly. Here. Mizell. Here. Rustin. King. Here. Phillips.
Here.
Mayor Mitchell.
And we have a quorum. Councilman Rustin couldn't be with us tonight, so we will proceed with all due diligence in his absence. So you can see the agenda there. I won't read that to you. I'll give you a chance to take a look at it before I move on. Okay, so the first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the regular council meeting and the approval of the work session that we were discussing before the meeting. So if there are not any, is there any questions, discussion, or changes to the minutes of those meetings? And if not, do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we accept the consent agenda.
Second.
In favor? Okay, unanimous. Consent agenda is accepted. Okay, so department reports, and we'll start with the fire department. Chief Howard.
All right, sir. Well, as you can see, everything looks moving along very well with the fire department, as well as expected. We had no injuries. And as far as our safety part, budget, we're still looking good on budget. There's going to be a couple items that, if you look at our budget, it looks like we're a little over. This time of year, it's kind of like that. Our maintenance on our vehicles, for one thing, is kind of spiked. Hopefully, we won't have any more major issues throughout the end of the year, but you never know with that type of thing. And then you'll notice on turnout gear, uniforms, it's spiked a little bit, but there's a reason for that. When we got our invoices for the last order we did, we had invoices that still haven't been paid from last fiscal year, even though they had PO numbers and all for last year. They didn't get paid in last year's batch. So we're over on that about $5,000. So we're trying to work that little deal out. But budget-wise, other than that, we're pretty much on target. Staffing, as always, we're always looking for more people to help with that. Facilities, no change, no problems with what we've got. Everything's still intact, especially after the storm. Everything's still standing, so we're good there. Vehicles, same as before. We're down admin vehicle, but we can do that later. Training, just about got all our training caught up as far as our EMS training, driver's training, that type of thing. So all that's looking good. That's a positive note. As far as highlights and opportunities, one thing I want to bring up, I don't normally do, that we've got a couple of new businesses that we just finished inspections on, and they opened up. We've got the trophy shop on Main. They passed their inspection. They'll be open for retail trophy sales. And we've got a little place down on 120 on Highway 25 that's selling metal art. He does it as a hobby, and he opened up a little business there, and he's doing well. So he's the same guy that owns the vape stores, but he does that on the side. So that being said, that's the two new businesses we've got. ISO, of course, we're still working on that. We're trying to get everything ready. I don't know. I kind of hope we have a delay due to all the action that's happened in Shelby County this month. I hope they give us a delay because we haven't been able to put a lot of attention in that in the last 2 weeks. But other than that, that's moving along and looking good. Concerns, I think I just covered them. That's pretty much where we're at. I think all in all, I usually don't talk about calls, but all in all, I think we came out really well with the damage that we had for the tornado. As far as, I know a lot of people might not feel that way because we have a lot of destruction. But all in all, with 2 injuries in the city due to the storm and the amount of personnel that we had out on the scene, within just minutes, we had police, fire, EMS, street department in minutes. And I mean, I don't think we could have asked for a better response time. Everything went as well as it could due to the circumstances we had. So that being said, I thank everybody who participated and is still participating, and we're good.
Any questions for Chief Howard?
Just thank you for your quick response because y'all were there before I got there. And I was going to check on, yeah, it was.
So when are we expecting the ISO visit?
Well, they told me the second week in March is what they originally told me. I haven't heard from him. So every day that he gives us a day, that's a day that we're just cleaning and brushing up things. So it's a good thing.
Can you contact them and ask them to delay based on the circumstances?
I can. I know they're already working on, I believe, alabasters right now, from what I was told. I think they're in there doing that, and we were kind of on an agenda, or a schedule. So I think I will contact him tomorrow and see where he's at and what he says.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we are kind of spread out right now. And
Well, I mean, when they're doing their audit, you need to kind of be with them.
that's right. We need personnel.
Whenever you have an auditor, you usually have somebody to stay with them, so answer their questions and that sort of thing. So, under the circumstances, hopefully, you said they are doing the alabaster.
I think they're doing alabaster right now. That's the last one I heard of.
Okay.
I'm not sure about that, but that's what I heard through the grapevine.
All right. Library.
Everything's going good at the library. As far as, I guess, safety, I noticed people's getting a little lax on the masks, but I don't have a problem with it. We're wearing ours and we've got our shield guards up. And it's picking up in patrons, and I've noticed a lot more children coming in the children's area. And as far as issues, it was just the mask thing, but like I said, I'm not real concerned about that. And highlights and opportunities, I'm planning on having a summer reading program like there wasn't any COVID. In case something, if something comes up and we can't.
Sure.
We won't.
Okay. Any questions for Sheila?
Yes, did you hire the extra, worker that we discussed in the meeting?
I've hired, one. I haven't called the school yet. Cause it's gonna be like after school, and there's really not much for that right now, but close to summer reading.
Okay.
I'll call before summer. Get someone.
The governor was going to lift the state mask, not really a mandate, but guidelines. Does anybody remember what day? That was?
The ninth,
Friday.
because I can't wait. Ready.
And there's new flyers on the governor's webpage, like suggesting you to wear them, but you don't have to, stuff like that we can put up.
Okay, thank you. Environmental services.
We haven't had a lot change this last month. The safety, budget, staffing, facilities, all that's still in the green. We're still working on upgrading the collection system. We're still working with ALDOT on the permits for Highway 25. That should be, it got sent to the Clear office, so they're sending it to Birmingham for their approval now. So we should be hearing something from that this month. And Pista Grit, the equipment at the treatment plant, we've got that back online. It removes our grit. So we're glad to have that back in operation. Training, we're still doing continuing education hours. We really hadn't had any issues, concerns, or highlights and opportunities. One thing I forgot to put on the issues and concerns is during the storm, we had 2 stations that went down, Nelson Walker Road and Wood Lane, 2 lift stations, sewer lift stations. So we were able to get a pump truck out and keep those pumped down until we got the power back on. But we've got a standby generator we're going to trailer mount so we can pull it around to areas that lose power, keep those powered up.
Any questions for Dale? So on the standby generator, just one?
Yes, we just got one. It'll be for the larger stations that run on 3-phase. So, it's very seldom we have something like that, but if we do, we have a few of our stations we've got set up for dry prime pumps. So we can actually, if it's going to be a long-term situation, we can bring in a diesel pump and actually pump it out of the wet well through the force main.
All right, thanks, Dave. And the senior center.
Alright. So we still have 2 staff members who have to finish their CPR recertification. We really haven't been spending any money because we're not open yet, but we do have plans to open on April the 12th.
Yay.
So that will happen on Monday. We will go ahead and open with some stipulations. So we're still going to require people to wear masks for a little while and kind of limit our capacity at the senior center. Part of the direction that we've gotten from State Senior Services is they don't necessarily want us openly serving meals. And so we will continue to pack meals like we would as we deliver Meals on Wheels so that people can kind of take the wrapper off and eat them that way so that we're not serving food on the open plates. I don't know why it makes me sense. So that's it. I'm not sure if my yellow and my red got it there, but we still do need to get our doors resanded, but we can work on that as there are some other priorities right now. So, and that's about it. Any questions?
Questions for Al? So you made a comment about the red.
Yeah, I didn't mean to.
Well, I appreciate all of you. Not assuming everything is perfect and all green, but
I missed that.
there was a couple of things that, based upon the presentations, probably could have been green.
Yeah.
That weren't, but I appreciate the fact that if it's not where you think it ought to be, that we're identifying that. So that's a good thing. Okay, board reports. So one of the things that we need to do is reappoint Councilman Rustin, Ricky Rustin, to the Recreation Board. His new term, or his previous term, I guess, expired yesterday, and his new term will expire on the 5th of April of 26. So is there a motion to reappoint Councilman Rustin?
I make a motion that we reappoint Councilman Reston to the Park and Rec Board.
And all in favor? Aye. It's unanimous. We have a vacancy on the water board. The term expired in July of 2020. And so we need to appoint someone to fill that position. And the term is a 6-year term, and it'll run through, is that right? Yeah, since it's from 2020, so it'll run through March 17th of 2026, excuse me. And I am recommending that we appoint Alan Reynolds. I think in his capacity with the Public Works Department, obviously, he's really familiar with our water systems, and I think he could add a lot to that board. So I would entertain a motion to appoint Alan Reynolds to the water board.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to appoint Alan Reynolds to replace Stancil Hanley to the water board.
Is there a second?
Well, second.
Okay. All approved, all in favor? Okay, Alan, you're now on the water board. We expect great things. Water bills will go down. You can work with Dale and sewer
Yes,
fees will go
please.
down.
I have a report from the beautification board.
Okay, very good. Wow. You know how to do that.
It's okay. If you can't.
Okay, I'm halfway there now. I got finished.
We had a meeting last night, and, for Liberty Day, our cleanup day is June 12th. It will be the following Saturday if we have rain. We'd appreciate all volunteers that would like to walk around and help clean up the city of Columbiana before Liberty Day. We are also, this year, gonna try to have a Liberty Day pageant at the Arts Council. If we get that, if it's open, but we were planning on having a Liberty Day pageant like they used to, where they actually came and, the girls walked and all that stuff. And, also, we're gonna try to bring back the tour of homes. So if anybody knows anybody that would be interested in entering their house, we have 3 so far. We'd like to have 6. So if anybody knows anybody that would like to, put their house up, we would appreciate it, and, they can contact me or anybody on the beautification board. That's all I have.
When is the tour home?
It will be in December. We're gonna try to, we may do it in October instead of wait till December, but most likely it will be December again, it usually is.
And so the pageants, is it gonna be at Dragon Hall?
Yes, yes. Mhm.
All right, thanks. Are there any other board reports that I should have failed to ask?
I got one. The planning development, board members, we've got 2 new businesses that's possibly coming in on Highway 70. I'll talk to some council members about, the Boga Factory. They're looking to do an indoor store there, storage. And then the old skating rink, somebody's looking at purchasing it and doing another indoor storage there. So, those asking a lot of questions, so I told you no, I'll have to go to the county, because I don't even sign on it, it's all zone manufacturing. They're talking about tearing down the older portion of the last corporation and just using the newer part. So, we got those 2 coming in. Then we've been in touch with the county. Me and Philip Crump had a conference call the other day about storm-related damage. So me and the mayor and Shelby County come up with a thing to kind of speed up that process of the homes getting repaired. So we go to Shelby County, then they'll send me a list of the contractors, and then we'll verify business license on the back end instead of the front end this time. Just so we can speed that process up.
Yeah, so just to be clear, at least I think, you correct me if I'm wrong, so normally they would go to Dale first, check on the zoning requirements and all the, for getting a business license and the license requirements, and then they would go to the county. So because of the storm-related issues, we decided just go straight to the county, get your permit. The county will notify Dale, and then they'll follow up to make sure that they have the requisite business license. As far as storm cleanup, as I understand it, the county is going to require that, the folks who you do hire to do storm cleanup have the appropriate trade certifications. And that's not intended to make things difficult. That's intended to protect citizens from people who might otherwise try to take advantage of folks, as far as repairs during the storm. And of course, that does not preclude any individual from acting as their own contractor to do repairs to their own home. And in such cases, they wouldn't need a license to do that. Is that correct?
And on that business license part, Shelby County's gonna hold the inspections, their final inspections, that way we can make sure our part's taken care of.
All right, thanks. Any other board reports? Thanks, Dale. Okay, so, the municipal water prevention program. So you can see this resolution. It basically says, that City of Columbiana is gonna, take the following actions, which were, gonna be approved, assuming that we pass this resolution by the city council, in order to meet the municipal water pollution prevention program. And so, I'll just go ahead and read it, okay? There is a report that is attached to the back. I'm not gonna read the report. And it defines these actions, A, B, and C. Continue using such methods such as television inspections and smoke testing to begin repair and rehab of the old lines. Continue a program with cleaning, root control, and inspections to prevent buildups in the system and increase capacity for handling additional inflow during flooding, and continued preventive maintenance of the pump station. So the resolution is that City of Columbiana does adopt the above actions in its municipal water prevention program. And do I have a motion to adopt the resolution?
I make a motion that we adopt the resolution.
Is there a second? And all in favor? Okay, unanimous. Okay, so resolution 04-2101, municipal water pollution prevention program has been adopted by the council. Resolution 04-2102, amending the fiscal year 2021 budget. So this one will probably require some discussion. The storm damage is requiring the city to encounter a great deal of expense as far as cleanup of storm debris. And as far as the city itself, we have incurred a significant amount of overtime or city employees going around and picking up debris. But the amount of the debris and the sheer size of some of the debris exceeds the capability of our city resources to be able to pick it up. So what we are doing is we are piggybacking, we plan to piggyback on a contract that the county has through the Association of County Commissions of Alabama for debris removal during a disaster. And through that contract, we can bring in a contractor who has the amount and type of equipment that we need to pick up the heavy storm debris, the large trees and things that have been pushed to the curbsides and basically is in the right of ways in the streets that the city has responsibility to pick up. The contractor will charge $7.25 per yard to remove that debris and take it to the county landfill. And we just learned yesterday, I believe it was yesterday, it might have been this morning, but anyway, we just learned that the estimate of the debris is about 15,000 yards. And could be more, could be less. And the city obviously has picked up a great deal of it. And sort of to add insult to injury, our brush truck that we use for picking up that debris broke down today. It's been heavily used, and hopefully we will get it quickly repaired so we can get it back into service. Before we knew the 15,000 yard estimate, we did our own back of the napkin estimate, and for the overtime plus the debris removal, we had estimated that we would need to spend about $100,000, which is not budgeted. And we discussed that at the council work session last week. Now, the 15,000 yard number is a little bit more than what we had estimated, so that's going to take that number up. So our resolution here, we had talked about $75,000 for the tornado expense plus the $25,000 for the overtime, and we had decided that we would adopt a not to exceed number of $100,000. Before we pass the resolution, I would like to open it up for discussion at the council, because the number is now bigger, that we might want to increase the not to exceed number to I'm gonna throw out 150,000, which should be way more than what we need, but nevertheless, I wanna make sure that we're covered, and then we would have to amend the budget accordingly. So, is there any questions or discussions, or does somebody's?
I have a question,
Yes,
actually.
ma'am.
Do we, and Charlene may know this, do we or have we ever had a disaster relief fund, money in a disaster relief that the law requires? Not that I know of. Okay.
I will also add to that, the state, I'm told, and I verified that with representatives from, although they're not state folks, from Senator Tuberville's office as well as Congressman Palmer's office, that the state does have created a disaster fund, but that disaster fund has not yet been funded by the state, so it does not have any money. So we don't have the ability right now to get any money from the state as far as that's concerned. So,
And the cities have to pay, is that the one the cities have to pay into?
no, this is a
That's a
different
different
one.
one.
It's a different one, yes. Any other questions or comments? So I will ask the council their thoughts. We can change the numbers on this after we pass the resolution. Concerns about increasing the not to exceed to 150 versus $100,000. Is there any comment or discussion on that? Okay. If not, I would then entertain or ask someone to make a motion that we adopt this resolution with $150,000 not to exceed. And we will probably, the 15,000 yards would be $110,000, round number. And then, so the extra would be additional overtime in the event that we need that. One of the things that we didn't discuss because we just got the memorandum of understanding from the county today, there is also a requirement for us to place city workers with each truck, and they have to fill out the load tickets and make sure that verify the amount of debris which is in each truckload. So we have to put an individual with each truck, and we're assuming 2. These are huge trucks. These aren't just your average ordinary dump trucks. They have long trailers attached to them as well as a truck bed. And I think they can, each one of them hold up to 80 to 100 yards of debris with the truck and the trailer. So they're quite large. We would put somebody with each truck, and that's what we're estimating 2. And then we have to have one individual at the landfill to be able to collect all those load tickets and again validate the quantity of debris that was taken to the landfill. So that may precipitate some additional overtime because we're already short-staffed. So is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion that we pass resolution 04-2102, amending the budget to not be greater than 150,000.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
And all in favor? And it's unanimous. I'll talk a little bit more about that too, I think, during the mayor report when I talk about tornado relief. So also on the agenda is adoption of an ordinance for the annexation of High Point LLC's property, which is located, you can see my cursor here. I usually try to make this cursor larger, but over here, this little circular area, this pink is the funky looking city limits of Columbiana. And this is an expansion. This is roughly 200 acres of land. And there are 13 lots on this particular 200 acre area. The largest one here in the center, I think somewhere around 110 acres roughly. But if you take a look at where, again, this, you can see the city limits does a little L shape, and you can see the corridor right here. Portions of 8 of those 13 lots are already located in the city limits of Columbiana. So it's theoretically possible that as these lots are sold and residential property is built on them, that we could potentially have 8 homes inside the city limits of Columbiana. High Point has petitioned the city for annexation, and they believe that it would be beneficial to them. I think it's beneficial to the city. There's potential tax revenue associated with having that additional property in the city. As far as a burden to the city, at present, it would essentially be none, because there are no homes out there that we would have to provide sanitation services to, or any other city services. So are any questions or discussion from the council regarding the proposed ordinance?
So there actually will be those homes built out there, and our garbage trucks and fire and police and all are gonna have to.
At some point in time, we assume there's gonna be homes out there. I'm sure High Point assumes there's gonna be homes out there as well. So yes, we would have to service that area, but as I said, that swath out there is already in the city, and if the homes are there, we'd have to service them anyway. You can look at the lots, you know, some of them, like for example, let's see, this one right here, most of that lot would be inside the city limits. Now that some of these others, you can see we're just cutting across the northern portion of it. And if there were a home that were put in this 110 acre area, you know, it kind of goes right through the center of it. So whether it's 1 or 13, we would have to serve that particular area. Any other questions or discussion? Concerns? Okay. Is there a motion to adopt the ordinance?
I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 042103, the High Point Partners annexation.
Second?
Okay. All in favor? Okay. That's unanimous. And that's the ordinance. I'm not going to read that to you guys. It's most of it. It's a lot of whereases and therefores. Okay, other business, and there may be more. In fact, we discussed a lot of things at our work session. It was mostly discussion. We didn't make any earth-shattering decisions at that particular meeting, but it was just things that I felt like the council needed to discuss. And there were things that weren't on the agenda for the work session that were brought up, and it was good discussion. So if anybody cares to bring that up, but I'm going to talk about the Monday Motors thing first, and most of you know Monday Motors is Columbiana Tractor now, and they have their facility on College Street, and then they have one on Highway 25 adjacent to the animal clinic. They're leasing that property, and they have a temporary mobile structure on that property that they're using for office space. That mobile structure, according to our city planning and zoning regulations, they are allowed to operate out of that on a temporary basis for about 6 months. Mr. Mundy had looked at a piece of property that he had anticipated being able to purchase so that he could build a permanent structure and expand his footprint so that he could accommodate all the stuff that he's doing on College Street as well as on Highway 25 into the same location. Unfortunately, that property got purchased out from under him, for lack of a better term. And also, Mr. Mundy's father recently passed away, and so he had some personal issues that I think made it difficult for him to get a permanent location. So I am suggesting to the council that we go ahead and extend his temporary permit for another 6 months to give him an opportunity for a new building. Are there any questions or discussion about that?
He has done, when he came to us about where his building is now, he was very good. I mean, he did what he said, and so I don't have a problem with giving him 6 more months.
Now, and let me add to that too. You know, they are a good business for Columbiana, and they contribute a lot to our city. So certainly we want to help them out from that perspective. But at the end of the day, we have these zoning ordinances for a reason, and you know, we're going to have to at some point in time
Right, and
move on.
that's what we did before too,
Right.
so.
But at the present time, like I said, I had discussed it with him. He had a site in mind, and unfortunately that one got away from him. So, along with his personal issue that he had. So, if the council is amenable, I recommend that we extend his permit. How do we do this? Does it just require a vote? Does it require a motion and a vote?
I think we'd have to do a motion and a vote, we can just, we could all just do a vote to.
So if everybody's in agreement, show of hands, please. Okay, so we will extend this permit. Okay, I'm gonna probably spend my entire time talking about the tornado relief efforts. And a good time for some discussion amongst the council, and we can, when we open it up to public comments, we can have more discussion about this if necessary. So the first thing I'd like to say is that I think the response from the community and the volunteer support, as Chief Howard had indicated earlier, was tremendous. Just by way of background, after the tornado at Fultondale, with me being a new mayor, I went to our city clerk, to Charlene, and I said, do we have an emergency operations plan or disaster plan? And she said, yeah, well, we do, but it's kind of out of date, and we haven't had the opportunity to exercise it in a long, long time. She brings it to me, it sits on my desk. I said, okay, we need to address that. We need to update this emergency operations plan so that we know what we need to do as a city so that we can respond to our citizens' needs. And then, lo and behold, we get hit by the tornado before we have an opportunity to do anything, as fate would have it. But nevertheless, I think, notwithstanding not really having that operations plan handy and being able to implement it per se, I think the response was tremendous, both from our city employees, our first responders, and the fire and police department, and the community as a whole. It was really, really impressive. I also happened to be out of town, but I was traveling back, when the tornado actually hit. Volunteer support from neighbors helping neighbors, from faith-based organizations, you name it. It was just tremendous. I rode around Friday morning with Chief Howard to survey the damage, and again, it was just amazing to see the response from the county, from the city, from Alabama Power, and again, neighbors helping neighbors to do what they did. And then on Saturday, when I was helping with the donation collections at the Old Mill Square, and then passing out meals to folks, again, it was just a tremendous thing to see. So I'm really appreciative of the first responders and the community as a whole, and hopefully I think everybody else is as well. So I want to talk to you about governmental support from the federal government side. There was an immediate outreach from Senator Tuberville's office and from Congressman Palmer's office to do everything that they could to try to help us. Frankly, it was limited, given the fact that we did not have a federal disaster declared, and that still hasn't happened as of today. I'll talk a little bit more about that. But nevertheless, did a great deal of providing me information about what resources would be available to us in the event that a federal disaster was prepared. And when we had a meeting on Tuesday at the Old Mill Square, the representative from Senator Tuberville and Congressman Palmer's office were there as well to help us out. The state, the governor declared a state of emergency, and as I mentioned earlier, there is a state disaster fund, and that's a fairly new thing, as I understand it, but unfortunately it hasn't been funded. So the availability of funds from the state is not there. I will share this information with you, and I just found this out today. After the January tornadoes that hit Fultondale and parts of the Birmingham area, Pinson area, et cetera, and because there was not a disaster declared that because it didn't reach the thresholds, is that, yeah, and I have that up there to talk about. The governor went to the Small Business Administration and asked them to implement small business loans to businesses and individuals that were affected by that state of emergency, even though typically that is done only after a disaster is declared. They agreed to do that. Those small business loans will go to businesses that, number one, have experienced damage as a result of the tornadoes, or those that, even though they didn't experience direct damage to their business, experienced an impact. Say, for example, you have a business in an area that was no longer accessible because of debris, et cetera, or power outages and things like that. They could get financial relief in the form of loans. And then, and by the way, the damage and the is all associated with uninsured property for businesses. And for what surprised me a bit was that the Small Business Administration would also provide individual loans for people who experienced property damage to their homes, again, uninsured individuals. And that is up to $200,000 at an interest rate of only like 1.25%. So it's a pretty good deal. Now, it doesn't affect us yet, but it's my understanding that they're going to the Small Business Administration and asking them to extend that same those same loans to those communities that were impacted by the tornadoes in March. So we're doing good there. The county, I think the county has been tremendous. If you were driving down Highway 30, the day after the storm, it was amazing to see the number of county vehicles out there cutting up and clearing debris. And they've been very supportive and very to the city of Columbiana, very helpful. And as I mentioned in the resolution that we just passed on the budget amendment, was adopting or activating the contract that they had in place for debris removal and allowing us to piggyback on that. And in addition to that, they opened the landfill up, so there's be no charge to, the city for disposing of that debris. And there's also no charge to individuals on certain weekends. Now, originally, that was through April the 10th, which was this Saturday, but I think they've decided to extend that a couple of more weekends as well. So the county has been tremendous. And the city, Alan and his crew, they've been putting in a lot of overtime. Dale's already talked to you about sewer support. I know his folks were out there also helping Alan's folks with debris removal. And they worked so hard that they broke the equipment. So, but again, I think really good support there from the city. When we get that back up,
the city will again be doing all that it can as far as debris removal. And then we will be hiring the debris removal contractor to do the things that we can't do. So let's talk about some of the other things in the charity. Alabama Power. Again, for those of us who were here in October after Hurricane Zeta and all the period of time that we were without power during that, they got power restored to our homes and businesses very, very quickly after the tornadoes. So I appreciate that as well. AT&T, where their phone lines and internet lines and things were interrupted, they too were extremely responsive to getting that out. And then the Red Cross has been here and been extremely helpful, particularly in providing temporary housing for those who've been displaced from their homes because of damage due to the tornado. And then just an enormous number of faith-based organizations, various churches in the community, Southern Baptist Association, the Shelby Baptist Ministries, and others have just done a tremendous job with volunteer support, as well as collecting donations for folks who were in need. And so it's just been really heartwarming. When we had our meeting on Tuesday at the Grand Hall, at least my intent and the purpose, the reason we call that is what we wanted to do is try to integrate and coordinate the efforts of all these various organizations. I apologize. I must have had something on my hand and I rubbed my eye and now my eye is burning. But anyway, because with this outpouring of support, I think everybody, the churches and the city and the other organizations that have been collecting stuff for folks, we got lots of stuff. For example, the city of Columbiana got enough chips, potato chips, to feed an army. But not necessarily what people needed was potato chips. And then if they come to the city or they go to this church or that church or this particular organization, my goal here was to figure out how we could integrate all that so we had for lack of a better term, a common database of who had what and where people could get support. That meeting sort of evolved into a discussion about helping the folks at Nick's Mobile Home Park. That was a good discussion and an appropriate discussion, but we didn't really focus in on that integration. Then afterwards, I learned something that I wasn't aware of, and there is an organization called VOAD, and it's Volunteer Organizations Assisting in a Disaster, I believe is the acronym. And it turns out the Southern Baptist Association, Shelby Baptist Ministries, we have a representative here from Christ in Action, Red Cross, all these others, they're very much aware of VOAD. And its purpose is to do exactly what I was hoping we could do at our Tuesday meeting. So I decided, probably don't need to reinvent the wheel. Let's just figure out how we can utilize VOAD. And I know Allie's been in touch with those folks, and there's a database at Shelby Baptist Ministries that we've tried to tie everybody into, and I think that's a great thing. And so lessons learned as far as that's concerned. So let me talk about this state of emergency and versus a disaster declaration. So the governor declared a state of emergency. And with the exception of the Small Business Administration assistance right now, a whole lot doesn't go with that. I don't want to shortchange that. There are, I failed to mention the other organizations, the Emergency Management Agency for the state as well as the county has done a great deal for us, and they're still here to support us. So we do get that support from the state. But in order to get a disaster declaration, we have to meet certain thresholds of uninsured damages. And across the state of Alabama, that's $7.5 million. And for Shelby County, that's $750,000. And of uninsured property damage. I mean, we've had probably a lot more than that in total, but the amount is uninsured. And the state is still trying to finalize their assessment and calculation of those damages. And hopefully that will be done, at least by the end of this week. And if we achieve those thresholds, then the governor will ask the president to declare a disaster, and then we would be able to get relief from FEMA. That could be possibly mobile homes, temporary living, and it could be cost reimbursement for some of the costs that the city, the county, and the state is incurring as far as cleanup is concerned. Once the state meets that threshold, Shelby County still has to meet it. So if the state meets the $7.5 million, but Shelby County doesn't meet the $750,000, then when the state gets the assistance, Shelby County won't be eligible for it. So the state could get it and the county might not, or we could get both. The county cannot get it unless the state gets it. So that's kind of where that works, and we'll see how it goes. So the way forward, as I mentioned, we intend, I will sign the memorandum of understanding since we agreed to the not to exceed for expenses, and we will start working with the contractor for debris removal. Hopefully they will be here soon. Now there's one other thing, and I'll save that for the public comment, but one faith-based organization that is here from Northern Virginia, Christ in Action. So when I know when I was out handing out meals on Saturday, and I was in the housing area in the Mooney Road area, one of the homeowners came to me and they had this massive pile of debris in their yard, huge trees and things that was impossible for them to be able to move it from where it was to the right of way so that it could be picked up by the city or our contractor or whatnot, and they would have to pay for that. So one of the things, and I'll let him talk about it when we get to that point, Christ in Action will do is they can go onto the private property and they have equipment and they can assist in movement of that debris to the right of way so that we can then pick it up and take it to the landfill. And there may be more that you got to share with that, and I'll let you do that. So hopefully they will be in the area. They've been working with the First Baptist Church, and hopefully we'll be set up around the 13th, about a week from today, and we'll sort of pass out the information of how people can request assistance. By the way, going back to the VOAD, there is a number that you can call, 211, like a 911, and individuals can go and they can request specific assistance by calling that 211 number. And if we don't already have that on our website and our Facebook page, we need to make sure we put that on. So that's about all. One last thing. They're all the way from northeastern Ohio. There is a city of Columbiana, Ohio, who has also reached out to us and asked us how they could help. And given the massive response and all the donations and things like that, and my concern that people out of their goodness of heart, giving a lot of stuff, but maybe not necessarily what we need, I suggested to them that probably what we need is money. And so the city, actually the Chamber of Commerce in Columbiana, Ohio, is doing a fundraising drive. And I think I put them in touch with Andy at the Baptist Church. And they have also volunteered to send folks down with tools and equipment to help. So we'll be hearing hopefully more about that. So we've got help from far and wide. So couldn't be more pleased with what's going on. Okay. Announcements. Allie. Is this yours?
Yes. All right, so there are COVID vaccination clinics at Old Mill Square Park. There are 4 this week, 1 next week, and then 4 more the last week in April. So if you haven't been vaccinated and you would like to be vaccinated, you can go to shelbyal.com and you can click on the little COVID-19 button and sign up for a vaccination appointment. I know that there are some available tomorrow and on Thursday afternoon. So you could get a vaccine this week if you would like one. Tuesday, April 6th, which is tonight, Shelby County Arts Council is doing Alan Tolbert, I can't talk, a bluegrass jam. And there is a food truck out there, Taco Magic is out there. It's a completely free concert. So I think that they will be going till about 8 o'clock tonight. And they're gonna try to do some sort of free concert every week, for the next few months. So that'll be,
Can I interrupt and ask a question? Is that gonna be in the black box or is it gonna be in the amphitheater?
that's gonna be in the black box tonight, so. Then on Thursday, Christ in Action will set up all of their heavy equipment at the First Baptist Church, and Columbiana United Methodist Church. And then they will be back on Tuesday to start work. So April the 11th is, Choco Aiken, and she's doing a matinee jazz performance. You can buy those tickets on the Shelby County Arts Council website. The 12th is a Park and Rec Board meeting at 6. The 13th is a Water Board meeting, and that's at 5:30. And then on the 15th is the Planning and Zoning meeting, and that's at 6 o'clock. Saturday, April 17th is the Shelby County Arts Council. They're doing Find Your Voice workshop. Those, you can buy those tickets on their website. And then on Saturday, April 24th, Columbiana Main Street will partner with the Shelby County Schools to do on Plum Main. So that will be choir performances for all the schools in Shelby County, and they'll also do an art show in businesses on Main Street. So because Shelby County Schools, they're not allowing parents in because of COVID, and so they're gonna have their performances outside on our Main Street. So that should draw a lot of people to Columbiana. I think that there are 22 schools participating altogether, and it will last from 10 in the morning, and the last performance starts at 7:30. There'll be 3 stages, a stage on Main Street and 2 stages in Old Mill Square Park. So it should be a really fun, really busy day with a lot of people coming through town.
So I received an email today from Benny at the Arts Council, and I think they're looking for volunteers to help with this project.
They are.
I'm not exactly sure what they need you to do, but if you're interested and willing to help, please contact the Arts Council and find out what they need, and if you can help, it would be greatly appreciated.
That's it.
I'm in there twice. Somehow or another, this thing's going backwards. Is there any more here? There's 2 announcement things here.
So that's the schedule, and you cannot
Okay.
see it very well.
No, you can't.
So, I know, I was like, so that will all get posted, on the website and on Facebook, so that you can see the schedule of what time each choir performs.
Okay, so now public comments. I'd like to start with Chris from Christ in Action, and he can tell you a little bit about their organization and what they can do to help.
I don't know how to do this, so forgive me. We're happy to be here. My name is Chris. I'm the Director of Operations for Christ in Action. Christ in Action is based in Virginia, as Mayor Mitchell said. Been around since 1982, and we get to travel the country and help out communities such as Columbiana for free. We have 4 full-time missionary staff families, and then we have volunteers from all over the country that come and are skilled at heavy equipment operation and chainsaw operation. And so we are working, partnered with First Baptist Church and the United Methodist Church next door and the Baptist Association to do whatever we can to help the citizens of Columbiana while we're here. We're gonna, based on assessing with Allie and talking with the mayor and with others, the needs in Columbiana, we're gonna be focusing on tree removal, trees from structures that are down right around houses, and also structure demolition that we can do if houses are totally demolished and need to be taken down. Did I miss anything?
Well, you know more about what you do than I do, so I guess not. But I will say this, I had reached out to Mayor, after the tornado, Mayor Larry Holcomb from Fultondale, because their community was badly damaged from the January tornadoes, and I just wanted to find out some lessons learned from his experiences at Fultondale that might help us here in Columbiana. And Mayor Holcomb connected us with Chris, and they're finishing up some of the things that they've been doing in Fultondale and Roebuck and moving into Columbiana. And we're very appreciative of what you're doing for us.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. Thank you for
Thank
being
you.
here. Any other questions or comments?
I'd just like to say hats off to Ally because she worked extremely hard during this event.
Yes, she has. She has. Good job, Al. Appreciate that. Yes, Susan?
Dog shows this weekend.
Yes, I have actually been invited to say a few words at the beginning of the dog show. So everybody come out and see that. I'm sure you won't want to miss it.
It really is something.
I was joking about my few words.
I know.
All
I
right.
love my dog, but ooh.
Anything else?
One other thing, Mayor, did we ever get any more information on the fire department, the new building, the fire department and Al's building? You were gonna check on.
All right, so we have an engineer coming to meet with us tomorrow. And they're going to look at the very rough, high-level plans that we put together and see if they can't take a look at what it's going to take to do what it is that we want to do and help us try to come up with a cost for that. The two options that we have are to acquire a piece of property on McDowell Road, which is an old warehouse that will require a great deal of renovation. I think it has a good steel structure, and basically it has good slab foundation. There's one portion of it that we think is going to need some repair. So they're going to take a look at that. That property sits on 2.5 acres and it adjoins another 2.5 acres of city property. So it provides some room for expansion. And then the other piece of property, the county has offered, not final yet, but tentatively offered to provide us some land on Highway 70, where the County Environmental Services is located, and we would have to build a new structure on that. The area is not quite as large, and the structure wouldn't be quite as large as the one that we would try to refurbish, but we're, again, trying to get the data to do the so that we can make a good assessment on that. And before we get off of this, even though we're on the public, there's a couple things that I did want to share with everybody. I received this from AT&T today. It actually came in yesterday. And I guess they thought it was important because they sent it by certified mail. So I'm going to read this to you. It says, this letter is to inform you, in accordance with Section 23 of the Video Service Agreement between AT&T Alabama and Columbiana, that AT&T Alabama will be assigning its interest in the video service agreement to its affiliate, DirecTV LLC. This assignment will occur in connection with a transaction whereby AT&T will transfer its multi-channel video distribution businesses, including the UVerse IP-enabled video service, into a new affiliate in which AT&T will retain a majority economic interest, with TPG Capital holding a minority economic interest. The transaction is expected to close in the second half of 2021. And in bold print, it says, you do not need to take any action in response to this notice. When the assignment is complete, DirecTV LLC will continue to provide the UVerse IP-enabled video service in Columbiana, pursuant to and be bound by the terms of the video service agreement. The residents of Columbiana will continue to receive the same high-quality service that they enjoy today without need for any additional action on their part. So information that we will post on the website. And I'm personally not, I have UVerse television services and I have AT&T internet. But this talks about IP-enabled video service, so I don't know if this includes the fiber optic UVerse service that they provide or not. So we'll try to get some clarification on that, but we'll post this on our website. We'll give that to you, Charlene. I do want to go over a few things that were brought up at our work session. I apologize, I meant to do this earlier. We talked about tornado relief. We talked about the fireworks, fire department and the public works. We also talked about debt refunding at our work session. As you know, we've talked about that at several of our council meetings. I'm not going to go into the detail on it, but our 772 process, we have filed that with the court, and there should be a hearing on the amendment 772 process very soon, and we'll have to we'll let everybody know when that is to be able to go forward with the debt refunding, where we hope to be able to save about $40,000 a year in debt service by doing that. Now, one thing that we did discuss at the council work session, although again we made no decisions, and this is something we'll bring up at a later date once we understand. We're going to reach out to the investment bank that is handling the bond issues for our debt service. And for example, extra expense that we have incurred relative to the tornado, see about the potential of rolling that extra cost into the debt refunding and seeing what impact that would have to our debt service. There's potential that we could perhaps borrow some additional funds and it not have a significant impact on the debt service, because we're only talking a few $100,000, and the debt service that we're refunding is about $13 million. Only about $8.5 million or so of that $13 million is covered by Amendment 772, and the rest of it is part of our normal bond service that the city, based under its normal borrowing limits, that's not covered by Amendment 772. And if we were to borrow some more, we would not go through a 772 process. We did talk about our various boards. We have been trying to restaff what has been a dormant industrial development board. But in doing some research, there are two other, the industrial development board's purpose is primarily, as the name would imply, strictly industrial development. Things like we might want to put out at, our industrial park out on Industrial Parkway and McDowell Road in that particular area. But there are two other authorities that we could possibly stand up, and if we did that, we could potentially dissolve the Industrial Development Board. One is called the Downtown Development Authority. Now that, as the name implies, focuses on development on the central business district of the city. It can be any type of commercial development, but it is narrowly focused into the central business area of the city, ever how we choose to define that. And then the other one is called a Commercial Development Authority. And this one, to me, seems like the logical one, because the way I read the statute, and we're trying to get some further guidance through the city attorney to take a look at that. But a Commercial Development Authority applies to both retail, industrial development, basically any type of commercial development, and it would be anywhere in the city. And so it seems kind of redundant to have an industrial board and a downtown development authority when we could potentially have a commercial development authority that would be able to address issues there. So we've decided at the council meeting, I think this is what, at the work session, that we would postpone restaffing and revitalizing the Industrial Development Board until we took a look at these other options. I will have mentioned that we have hired a Main Street director. We extended an offer which was accepted, and I believe the plan is for her to start on the 3rd of May. Okay. And then we also, we're going to take a look at, again, some of our policies and procedures relative to budget purchasing. And we, earlier in the year, so many of you will remember, we had to revamp our city pay scale because it was so out of date. We had we had two pay grades and several steps within those pay grades. It was actually below minimum wage. Not a $15 minimum wage that we're talking about, but the current minimum wage. So technically, that made that pay scale non-compliant with federal law. So we revised that, and when we did that, we said we would come back and look at our personnel evaluation system and implement a merit pay system associated with that. So we're going to try to revitalize that. So I just wanted to share that. Councilman Lilly brought up several things. Why don't I let you talk about it instead of me, about as far as basketball courts and other stuff?
Well, I'm in District 1, but I feel like I'm in all the districts. And I just don't, put myself on one. But I wanted, after all this, the tornadoes and this, disaster that we went through, Highway 47 down on Shelby Road, I think those people down there, and not just the neighborhood, but anybody that needs shelter, I wanted to put a storm shelter down there. Because some people just don't have the adequate, have an adequate place to go. And most of the people live in mobile homes. And they need to come out those mobile homes. And, it's not just mobile homes, but in houses that's run down also. So that was one of my main things. And there's a building down there on 47, right by Union Baptist Church. That building needs to come down. It's just an eyesore. And I was just thinking that the storm shelters can be placed right there where that old building is standing at. Also, it's a basketball court down there. We have many kids that comes down there and play. I would love to see trash cans down there. I would love to see more basketball goals down there. Mind you not, if they come down there, if we get those down there, they're going to have to keep them up. Once they tear them up, I can't vouch for them. So that, that gives the kids something to look forward to. Also, what else did I say? Because I talk so much. But that's just to make, and lighting down there, lighting on the neighborhood, lighting in the neighborhood. If we could see more lighting, because we have so many different activities that going on, just not on 47, but Eggenbetter Road, up above there, people walking. If we have older people that lives out there, if they can just kind of see what's going on. Again, we're willing to work, Mayor. Just let us know how to do, what to do. And, like I said, I'm just a voice. We have the people that's out there, we serve the people, and that's what I'm here, I represent.
So the last thing is that or not the last thing, but along with those ideas that you brought up at the work session, we do have some old basketball goals that are located behind City Hall here in storage. So we can refurbish those and probably erect those, and then it's possible we could even purchase some additional ones. And we had previously, I think, discussed putting a goal up at near the track or on the track at Elvin Hill as well. So I think those were good suggestions, along with the trash cans and the lighting. As far as the tearing down of the building, there's an abatement process that we would probably have to go through. But again, we're certainly willing to take a look at that. So apologize, I should have covered that earlier in the general discussion portion and skipped over that. But is there any other comments from anyone? Any other comments from the council? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
Okay.